and friends, let's not ever forget that only this party understands that you don't prevent gun crimes in our cities by cracking down on duck hunters. The NDP and the Liberals fought desperately to keep it, but it was only this party's MPs and this party's MPs alone that finally ended, and is the only party that will never bring back the wasteful and ineffective long gun registry.
Prime Minister Stephen Harper talking about the issue of gun ownership at the Conservative Party convention. Now, the other day, Monday, we told you about a couple of resolutions that went on at the Conservative Party. And one of them was voted down. 500 votes against, 477 votes in favor of it. It just was, unfortunately, narrowly shot down. And on Monday's program, I ended up saying that, well, our next guest, Gary Breitkreitz, voted against it. I goofed. It was a big mistake. Gary's in studio with me now, and I not only got an angry email from you, before I heard from you, I was hearing from angry gun owners saying either A, I can't believe Gary did that, or you bonehead, you got it wrong. So what happened with this? Because when I heard someone tell me Gary voted against it, I thought maybe there was a problem with the resolution, but it was very narrow. Why didn't it pass?
I wish we had more time to debate these things. It passed with the very strong majority, I think 80 or 90% at the previous session, the session that decides whether it's going to come to the final plenary session. And there it was just overwhelming support, but you have more time to explain some of the ins and outs of this. There could have been some nervousness with a couple of the clauses, and I think maybe with a little more discussion they would have realized this was actually a very good motion.
Well, let's look at some of the clauses right now, because I know some of the people that were pushing this, and they said these are important measures that go beyond just scrapping the gun registry. It's about fixing firearms laws in Canada. The motion called for to recognize the right of to own firearms unless that right is removed through due process of law on an individual basis. That doesn't exist right now. Returns the prohibited classed firearms to restricted or non-restricted classes, and then finally removes the criminalization of firearms and firearms possession from the criminal code. That's a big one for a lot of people I know.
Absolutely. People are upset with the fact that right now, if you don't quite do the paperwork right, you could end up with a criminal charge and a criminal record.
And nobody wants actual criminals to have guns, but why create paper criminals?
Well, exactly. There's no place else in the criminal code where this exists, where if you don't do the right paperwork or you neglect to fill out a certain form, that you become a criminal.
I was on the road and driving when my sticker on my license plate expired, and I couldn't get to all the places that I used to go had closed. And so I'm driving around illegally, but you know, I would have received a ticket if they'd pulled me over.
That's right. Okay, and this is the absurdity of the law. This was intentionally done in 1995 to override the rights of the provinces by putting it in the criminal code. And I'm hoping that one day this will become fixed. So
do people have to organize better and go, or do they need to go incrementally, little bits at a time, in terms of policy and in terms of legislation to bring before? Because I still hear from people that say, you guys only did half your promise. You didn't get rid of all of C-68. You didn't get rid of the whole Liberal legislation. You just got rid of the registry.
Well, the registry was an important first step. Is there more to do? Yes. And I think that the resolution that was passed at the convention does indicate to the government that this is still a concern.
All right. I've been talking about this for a long time, but as I've told you before when we've talked on air and off, not a gun owner, don't have a license. That started to change, and on the weekend I took my course. The entire process, fine course and a good instructor, but the entire process, it seems to me, is designed to discourage you from ever doing it. You got to take a whole weekend away from your family, a lot of time, a lot of money. Was that part of the original intent?
I think it was, yes. I think they wanted to discourage gun ownership within Canada, which is not a healthy thing. I think it's actually good for our young people to get outdoors, to pursue our heritage activities such as hunting and fishing. And so I think we should encourage that, because the youth who do get involved in that don't get involved in other less savory activities.
Well, and let me tell you, when I was 13 years old and they handed me a rifle in cadets and said, you're going to learn how to shoot, I learned a healthy respect and proper use of firearms, as opposed to flinging it around and thinking it wouldn't hurt anybody.
That's right, and I don't think anybody has a problem with, you know, teaching young people how to properly use firearms and develop that respect for it. I think that's a very healthy thing, and with our licensing process now, that is required.
All right, well, hopefully we can continue to chip away at the other bad parts, though. Gary,
Exactly.
great to talk to you again.